You know, I'm not the smartest guy in the world. In fact, far from it. Most days, I'd say I probably fall somewhere between competent and incoherent. But despite my painfully average intelligence, I am still smart enough to know at least one thing is for certain. I am not better at basketball than an NBA player. Any of them. Literally nothing I can do with a basketball in my hands is up to par with a single player in the NBA. But this isn't breaking news. By now, we all know this. Except this guy. This is Anthony Miracola, and he claims to be the best shooter in the entire world. And it's a self-proclaimed title that he has earned by breaking several basketball shooting world records. Anthony's good, really good. But to find out the harrowing truth that he is not better than an NBA player, he got invited onto national television to have a shootout against an NBA player. The outcome of this shootout? Worse than you could imagine.
Oh, I might have to take this off.
Do you think you are the greatest pure shooter of all time? Just straight shooting?
Yes.
Ever? Yes?
Yes.
Devin Booker, the young cat from Phoenix.
In 2018, Devin Booker set a three-point contest record with a score of 28 in the final round of the contest, taking home the trophy with his name forever etched into NBA history. A performance where he hit 80% of his shots, only missing 5 out of 25. Under this format, where the highest score possible is 34, Booker put on a three-point clinic that even shooters like Stephen Curry and Klay Thompson couldn't keep up with. And 4 years later, he still holds this incredible three-point shooting record. Until the greatest shooter alive, Anthony Miracola, broke it in 2022 with a score of 31. At last year's three-point open high-stakes contest in Pennsylvania, Anthony put on one of the most absurd displays of shooting you'll ever see, winning the contest and taking home a $100,000 cash prize. Look at this. The man doesn't miss. I mean, Anthony did have an extra 10 seconds compared to the NBA contestants, and he was shooting from the college three-point line, which is 2 feet closer, and he had 9 warm-up shots before beginning this record-breaking round. And, well, of course, this performance didn't take place in an NBA three-point contest. But a record is a record, and as the world's best shooter, Anthony's got a lot of them. Over the last decade, Anthony has been slowly taking down nearly every basketball shooting record available, and possibly some that are not. Most three-pointers made in a minute? 31. Most three-pointers made in 3 minutes? 93. Most free throws made in 1 minute? 67. That's more than a free throw made per second. I mean, at a rate like that, you must have some crazy contraption helping you get the balls back or something. Most free throws made in 3 minutes? 201, beating the old record by a very modest 101. And he doesn't plan on stopping until every shooting record is his. His most recent world record on the books? Most free throws made while standing on one leg. But with all of this fame and glory as the world's greatest shooter comes a lot of challengers. People who doubt your claims, want to take your spot as the top dog, refute your records and say, well, I mean, how many people have even attempted shooting free throws on one leg? But that's neither here nor there. And this hasn't stopped Anthony from taking down the competition and taking down records along the way. Until he showed up. Former NBA player and now NBA analyst, Kenny Smith. See, back in the 90s, Kenny Smith was one of the NBA's premier sharpshooters. And as one of the best among the best, there is a massive void between him and some regular Joe when it comes to shooting a basketball. And throughout the years, Kenny has challenged other former NBA players to a three-point shootout to test their skills and win bragging rights on live national television. No warm-ups, no do-overs. He went toe-to-toe with, at the time, the greatest shooter of all time, Reggie Miller, and was one shot away from beating him. He challenged former NBA sharpshooter Danny Ainge to a three-point shootout and walked him like a dog while clearing the last rack and staring him down as the last ball went through the net. He challenged former flamethrower Michael Redd at the ripe age of 49 and beat him as well. Kenny even went as far as challenging Jason Terry, one of the greatest long-range shooters ever, to a three-point shootout for the rights to the nickname, The Jet. Does anyone want to take a wild guess at who won?
You better come back over here.
Lie.
You better come back over here. You better come back over here and shoot again.
Oh, okay.
You better come back over here and shoot again. You better come back over here. I'm the Jet in here. What's my name? What's my name? What's my name? What's my name? What's my name, Chuck?
Another one, Hal.
Chuck, what's my name?
Kenny the Jet Smith.
What's my name? What's my name? What's my name? What's my name?
this is not a man you want to mess with. Because no matter how many years go by, no matter how knocked those knees get, once an NBA player, always an NBA player. And Anthony Miracola had to learn this the hard way. It's been a few years since Anthony Miracola began. Kid is a machine. He knocks down his shots. And to absolutely no one's surprise, Shaq does not. The kid is eating it up. He loves it.
Amazingly enough, you've beaten Shaq in a free throw contest.
That's funny, Chuck.
But the real show is about to begin. Hyenas, the crew is circling. Barkley's yelling at the poor guy. Shaq is right behind him, repeating everything Charles is saying. A 7-foot echoing monolith, just menacingly standing there. And it's at this moment, Anthony begins to realize what he's gotten himself into. Oh no. In dress shoes and slacks, Kenny went into the shootout completely cold, but he's already heating up. And our friend Anthony is 0 for 2. Now, I want to take this moment to remind everyone out there about a quote a wise man once said. I am closer to LeBron than you are to me. Famous words uttered by none other than Brian Scalabrine. For 11 seasons, Brian spent his time in the NBA as the league's resident scrub, averaged 3 points a game, didn't see the court on many nights. In fact, in 2012, while LeBron was in his prime and nearly led the league in scoring, Brian was putting up a whopping 1 point per game. About as far away from LeBron as a player in the NBA is going to get. And yet, despite this, Brian was acutely aware of the fact that even with this massive void, as an NBA player, he was still worlds closer to LeBron than we are to him. One of the worst, but still an NBA player. At the time of this shootout, Kenny Smith had been retired for over 2 decades. He spent his days in a chair talking about the game, not playing it, but he is still a former NBA player. And the gap between him and Anthony was insurmountable. Turned into 90 seconds of badgering, yelling, excuses, and 2 missed shots. 7 basketball shooting world records. In terms of us average Joes, he can shoot the rock better than just about anyone. He's hit 31 three-pointers in a single minute. He's made over 200 free throws in 3 minutes. But on this day, Anthony finally learned the haunting truth that we all have to come to terms with eventually. And wearing a suit.